I got a question for everybody. At what age and where did you lose your virginity? Because I lost my virginity at 14 at a funeral home. Story time. So I was in a relationship with this girl for about 5-6 months. And I met her on the Loop. Now, for those that don't know what the Loop was like a hotline for teens. Mind you, landline phones. This was before every kid had a cell phone. So it was a hotline where they would connect you to teens your age and you could talk to them on the phone. So mind you, we was both in love with each other before we even knew what each other looked like. At that time, if you met people on that site, if you liked each other enough, you would exchange numbers and then you would send each other pictures in the mail. That's how you would find out what each other looked like. But my girlfriend, she couldn't receive mail. Her parents was not having that. So after like 2 months on the phone, after saying I love you, like we were talking about getting married, all types of bullshit that you say to your first love at a young age. We were dying to meet each other. We had to figure out where each other lived. And we found out that she was only a town over, a town that I used to go to, to chill and ride bikes. So I knew exactly where she lived. She lived down the street from a Walgreens that we used to steal candy from. Now, when we met, a lot of lies started surfacing. She said that she was Puerto Rican, but she looked kind of Mexican, but she was really Peruvian. But she was still pretty as hell, so I didn't care. Because I told her that I was 16 and wasn't a virgin. And I was 14 and very much a virgin. I don't know why, but, girls wouldn't think about having sex with you back then if you were a virgin. They did not want to go that route. So as a man, you had to pretend sometimes like you've done it before. But it was rough chilling with her like the first few weeks because her dad was not happy that I was, of this complexion. Now, her mom was cool with it only because, my girlfriend told her that we were friends. But she had a suspicion that we were more than friends because every time we chilled and I went to her block to chill with her, her mom sat right outside and watched us chill the whole time and we couldn't leave her sight. And when her pops was about to come home from work, she was like, hey, your friend gotta go. Yeah, my first relationship, I had to deal with racism. It sucked, but I was in love with her, so I didn't care. So after like 2 months of doing that, she told me, hey, listen, I want you to take my virginity. Now I'm scared shitless because I never did it before. And I didn't think like she was on that type of time. Like she would talk freaky to me and like on the phone, but like that was just on the phone. Like, I didn't know she was gonna be like that in real life, but she definitely was. So for a good 2 weeks, we tried to come up with a plan to figure out where we was gonna do this at. Because back in the day, kids of those ages were not allowed to be alone together. It was not happening. Definitely couldn't go to her house because, we was being watched like prisoners at the courtyard. So one day she came up with this plan. The plan that we was gonna go by her friend's house that her mom knew very well and knew the parents. And her friend's parents wasn't gonna be home for a little bit of time after school. So I could jet over there, we could do our thing there, and her friend was gonna let us do it there. So after school, I jetted over there to meet her where she told me to meet her at so we could go to her friend's house. Now my heart sank when I got there because when I went to meet her, it was just her alone. She wasn't with her friend, which I knew the plan fell through. And she said, oh, we can't go to my friend's house because her parents end up coming home and the plan just fell through. But the upside to it, we could actually chill for a few hours by ourselves because her mom thought she was by the friend's house. So we walked around for the first time, alone really. So it was a good time. We went to the park. She gave me a hand job in the park. And then we saw the funeral home. So we knew it. She gets on top of the hood. Yes, a her. All right, I lost my virginity in the funeral home part 2. Now, I don't know why in part 1, the ending got choppy after the hand job part, but she gives me a hand job in the park. Then we see the funeral home. Now, the way the funeral home was set up, it was a building and there was a little driveway with, a thing on top of it. Like it looked like a metal tent, but it was in the back of the building. So like if you went back there, no one could really see you. So we immediately knew what time it was. We just ran back there and she gets on the hood of the hearse. She pulls her pants down and says, come on, hurry up and do it. So I pull my pants down, I pull my condom out, and we do it. It was magical. Up until the time I looked down and I realized it was blood everywhere. Blood on the car, blood on her pants. And her pants, she had white pants on that day. And there was blood on my shirt. So that immediately killed the mood. And we're like, what the hell? I was like, what are you going to do? You can't go home like that. So luckily, she had gym that day. And she had some pants that she could change into. And then right when she finished getting dressed, someone in the building looked out the window. And it made it awkward at the time because we didn't know if they were watching us the whole time or they just saw us at that moment. But we ran away laughing. Now she went home. I went immediately to my boys to show them my bloody shirt. Like, yo, it went down today, son. But come back for part 3 and I'll tell y'all what happened when her mom found those bloody pants. I lost my virginity in the funeral home, part 3. All right, so where were we again? Bloody pants. All right, the bloody pants part. So, everything was good for about a week or 2. Then, I started calling her phone, and then her mom kept saying, oh, she's not here, or she's busy, or she's doing something. Like, I couldn't get her on the phone for like a week. Then she calls me out of nowhere, and I'm like, what happened? Did you get in trouble? And she was like, yeah, my mom found the bloody pants. So I'm like, how the hell did your mom figure out what happened? She said, you know, her mom knew when her period was coming, so those bloody pants didn't make any sense. Her mom took her to the doctor. Her doctor revealed the truth that her hymen was broken. She told me that her mom was never gonna let me see her again, and that if I kept calling the house, I was never gonna get her on the phone, and that she would try to call me whenever she could. She snuck on the phone to tell me this. So I was heartbroken, of course. She was heartbroken. So after about like maybe 2 weeks later, she calls me and tells me that she's at church. Come see her at her church. Now the crazy thing is that me and her went to the same church, but she was part of like, you know, the Spanish branch. So I goes to the church, and oh man, y'all gotta tune in for part 3. All right, I lost my virginity at a funeral home, part 4. All right, so where were we? All right, the church. So she tells me to go meet her at church, which is, to my surprise, was my church as well. This was the first time I figured out that, Spanish people went, to my church on different days. But anyway, I go to the church. So when I got there, they were still having service. So I had to wait a little bit. So I was just chilling around. That was my church. So like I chilled around. I went to the other side in the front to wait. So when the service was over, her mom went to like the adult study, and then she was supposed to go, study with the kids. But she didn't. Me and her ended up in the bathroom, doing some stuff. And right when I was about to get it in, her mom knocks on the door. Oh, what are you doing? Like in Spanish, what are you doing? What are you doing? So in Spanish, she tells her mom, oh, that she's taking a shit. So we wait a little bit, and she's like, yo, I'm gonna have to open the door all the way. You need to hide, like exactly behind the door. I'm gonna cut the lights off. So she cuts the lights off and closes the door, opens the door all the way. Now I'm skinny, but I was an even more skinnier kid back then. I was so fucking skinny that I could hide behind a little crack in the door while it was all the way open. So she didn't see me when she opened the door because, it was completely dark, and she just darted out the room. So I wait a couple of minutes, and I wait for it to get quiet. So I'm thinking it's quiet. I'm thinking they all went back to the room. So I walk out, and her mom is directly around the fucking court. Now, this is the first time I heard her mom speak English. What are you doing here? I'm like, damn, you acting like you ain't speaking English this whole time, but you did. So I run my ass. I run out the emergency exit. The alarm goes off, and I get away. Y'all stay tuned for part 5.